Hey guys, Pete Weintraub, permanent weight loss specialist here, and today I want to talk about how to avoid falling off the wagon on your weight loss journey, particularly as it applies to doing so over the weekend. So for a lot of my clients that I've worked with, both current and past clients, they're usually great with their nutrition and staying active Monday through Thursday. They'll eat clean, they'll get their workouts in, everything goes according to plan, but for a couple of different reasons, starting Friday evening after work and cascading now into Sunday evening, really Monday morning, they kind of fall off the wagon a little bit. So I'm going to go over the top two most common excuses that I hear about why that is. And obviously there's a lot more to it than this, but I've been in the industry for 10 years. So and also I've used a lot of these excuses myself. So I know that there's a little bit to it. So let's start off first and foremost with excuse number one, and that is the I deserve it mentality. If you're listening on the podcast to just audio, I just used air quotes to say I deserve it. And the reason for that being, and I used to be a victim to this myself, and I hate the term victim because ultimately that's going to be the number one rationale behind the second most common excuse that I hear. But when I was in my early to mid 20s, after I graduated college and I got my first few jobs out of school, I worked in a corporate office environment. And for me, at least, it's not something I wanted to do. It's not really my speed. It's not really something that appeals to me. And as a result, I really lacked motivation and dedication at those jobs. And while I was there, it was not uncommon for me, who was in the midst of my 100-pound weight loss journey and in the midst of also a nearly 3-year plateau. I was taking each Friday evening either at a bar, whether it was when I was working in the city, I was working up in Westchester County here in New York on the border of New York and Connecticut, or sometimes even having friends come over to my apartment and we'd hang out in my living room, we'd drink a ton of beer, order something disgusting like Domino's, and go from there. And I heard about reverse carb loading and carb cycling and things like that, and I thought that, fuck it, it's Friday evening. And I was wondering why I wasn't really seeing results. Years later, I can definitely see it, kind of from an armchair quarterback perspective. But yeah, a lot of people do this, and it's not all that uncommon. Like I said, I've done it myself, so I'm somewhat sympathetic to you. And look, if you have a job that you hate and because it pays well enough to pay the bills, maybe it doesn't pay well enough to pay the bills, so you're extra stressed out about that, you're not really happy with where your life's going. Look, I get it. You want to kind of drown your sorrows away in alcohol, eat some crappy food that'll temporarily make you feel better. But unfortunately, the next day you'll wake up hungover, feeling bloated, stomach's not feeling all that great. And if you weigh yourself semi-regularly, come Sunday or Monday, you're not going to be happy with yourself, on top of all the reasons that turned you to eat and drink that way in the first place. So one of those, about 4 years ago, I was on YouTube. I honestly have no idea who said this, but I was watching a bunch of YouTube videos from a famous fitness pro at the time, and he was talking about this very thing, the I deserve it mentality. And he's like, you mean to tell me that you deserve to pump your body full with artificial chemicals, preservatives, sweeteners, with alcohol that does nothing for you, whether it's for your health or for your weight loss efforts, with grains which are inflammatory and sugars which aren't only inflammatory but lead to fat storage, which can lead to obesity, and obviously that's a gateway disease to a myriad of other health issues. So you mean to tell me that you deserve to harm your body when your mind's already not in a good place? How does that make any sense? Understandably, sugar and alcohol and certain types of foods do release certain endorphins and hormones that make you feel better in the short term at the time you're ingesting them. But unfortunately, there's a lot of long-term negative health consequences that can come from that. So instead of just making things worse by eating crap, being sedentary, and not leading a healthy lifestyle, why don't you treat yourself instead of the booze and the disgusting food with continuing to exercise and continuing to eat healthy? And look, there's a million different recipes out there. And in fact, if you want, I'm going to include it in the description below, a link to my healthy recipe book. It contains 72 recipes spanning breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, appetizers, and desserts. It's all healthy stuff, mostly organic stuff. There's nothing bad in there. And there's a bunch others on the internet. So even if you don't want my recipe book, you can just Google a healthy recipe for fare or beverage that you like that won't do nearly as much, if any, damage. And that's crucially important, in my opinion, is finding some simple substitutes that you can make, whether it's a brand or whether it's making it yourself, that'll do you some better good. So when I heard this argument, it kind of woke me up because I realized a couple of things. A, I was sabotaging my health. B, I was sabotaging my weight loss efforts. And C, I was just continuing this terrible mental cycle. At the time, as you could imagine, in a near 3-year weight loss plateau, I dealt with a lot of self-doubt. I was clinically depressed, and it was not something that I was easily getting over. And the reason was all of my behavior, both physical and subconscious at the time, was just fueling this constant cycle of I suck, I don't like my life, I'm trying to lose weight, I'm trying to get into better shape, I'm trying to improve my health, and I'm trying to improve my bottom line. None of those things are happening. Why is that? Woe is me. Here's more alcohol. Here's more crappy food. And that's kind of how I fueled myself for years. So in my mid-20s, when I found this video, I decided, you know what? Fuck this. I need to cut this off by the head, and I need to start changing some things. So when I realized I deserve better health, I deserve to be in better shape, I deserve to lose this weight and be the best me that I could be, then it was easy. Then it was a lot easier to say, no, I don't feel like going out this Friday night, and instead maybe working out, preparing a healthy dinner, or even if I did go out to dinner with my girlfriend or something like that, I'd order something healthier. If I got an alcoholic beverage, I'd make a better choice. Instead of drinking beer, I'd have a gin and club soda or something like that. And that would help, A, take the edge off, and B, I'd still be fueling my body with the best available fare at the time, which brings me to common excuse number 2. Let's say a lot of events happen on weekends. There's communions, there's bar mitzvahs, there's weddings, family reunions, whatever. But there's a lot of parties that happen on weekends all during the year, whether it's a holiday or whether it's an event like one of the ones I just mentioned. And a lot of people will use the excuse, well, I had this event, it was far away, I didn't really know what I could bring or eat, so I just decided to forego it that day, drink and eat whatever was available to me, and that was that. And unfortunately, they'll just continue to be a victim to the circumstances in their lives. So let's use the example of, let's say it's something like a bar mitzvah, a communion, a wedding, an event like that. Often you'll have months and sometimes even years in advance knowing that this event is coming up. So in the month or even in a few days leading up to it, even if you have to travel, whether it's interstate or even to another country, because some people like those destination weddings, or they may have family in other countries, you can actually do a Google search, really easy. You can do a Google search of different healthy grocery stores and restaurants in that area. And instead of eating the fare that may not be conducive to your health and weight loss goals, you can bring some healthy snacks with you. So if you're driving to the event or you're flying to the event, whatever the case may be, you can bring some healthy snacks with you so that instead of eating the garbage at the event, you can eat some good stuff, fill up beforehand, and then maybe eat it afterwards on your way either home, to your hotel, whatever the case may be. There's not an excuse for that either. Now, unfortunately, in the society we live in a lot of the industrialized world, and I can speak mostly for the United States and not necessarily Europe or anywhere else like that, but here a lot of people in recent years like to adopt a victim mentality. They're a victim to the system, they're a victim to this, that. It's not their fault that they're overweight. It's not their fault that any of this stuff is happening to them, that they're struggling with their finances, their relationships, whatever. And look, I'm not saying 100% of what happens in your life is your fault or is to blame on your end. But look, you live in a free society, most likely, if you're watching this. You can change your circumstances. You can take responsibility for your actions. If you really want this, if you really want to improve your health, and if you really want to lose weight, then there's no excuse for not taking the necessary steps towards that. It doesn't matter if you're at home this weekend or if you're going somewhere to an event where, yes, the fare is going to be out of your control, but your actions leading up to the event, during the event, and after the event are well within your control. You decide what you put in your mouth, what you ingest, whether it's a drink or beverage or it's food. So stop making excuses. Stop putting your health and your weight loss goals in other people's hands. Take some responsibility, take some initiative. You may have to prepare, but guess what? The most successful people do not make excuses under any circumstances. So please stop with the excuses. Stop with the mentality that the weekend is a time to treat yourself to crap, because all you're doing is making your life that much more difficult. And if you're looking to lose weight and improve your health, you're going to make it that much worse. So I guess a little morbid today, but ultimately, I just want to try and poke some holes in a couple of the most common excuses people make to fall off the wagon. Because guess what? A lot of times, with whether it's alcohol, grains, or sugar, all three of those things are addictive. People have alcohol addiction, people have food addiction, and often the food addiction is to one of, if not both of, grains or sugar. So you need to acknowledge that there is a physical addiction component and you need to start breaking it. The only way to break it is to start taking responsibility, weaning yourself off, and making better decisions in the grand scheme of things. I hope you found this episode of the Weight Loss by Pete podcast or daily vlog, depending on how you're ingesting this, helpful. So if you have 50 or more pounds to lose, you're tired of yo-yoing with your weight, you want to avoid some type of weight loss surgery, whether it's gastric sleeve, gastric bypass, there's a bunch of different ones out there, as well as maybe your physician has sat you down, you recently had a physical and they're telling you, look, you're pre-diabetic, or your family is susceptible to heart disease, Alzheimer's, whatever, and unless you lose some weight, clean up your health, you're going to be at very increased risk of following in a lot of your relatives' footsteps, then I've got a free community on Facebook that'll help you out. It's called the Permanent Weight Loss Community. The link is in the description below. All you have to do is go to the link, ask to join, and you'll be added by either myself or a group member who you may or may not know in the last 12 hours. I just started it up last week. Today is Monday, October 16th, 2017. And I just started this up in the middle of last week. So we're looking to grow this community as big as we can. I have a free resource in there, my 5 strategies report that details the 5 strategies I personally used to lose 100 pounds and keep it off. I also do a weekly Facebook Live event every Thursday. We'll cover a different aspect of healthy, sustainable weight loss, whether that's nutrition, fitness, or mindset. And obviously, I'll be interacting with you guys throughout it. But introduce yourselves. This is a community of like-minded individuals. If you do have 50 or more pounds to lose, and if you're looking to stop the yo-yoing and improve your health. I'm Pete Weintraub, permanent weight loss specialist. Thanks so much for listening or watching, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one.